From planting through harvest, GAP, or Good Agricultural Practices, are farming practices that minimize the risk of microbial contamination of crops and products. From land use to personal hygiene practices, to water quality, packaging, and handling. GAP certification is a voluntary way of implementing and documenting steps to assure food safety.
USDA GAP program came about around year 2000, and it came about at the request of the industry because they wanted a true third-party entity performing the audits. It has increased in volume every year since then, and I foresee it to keep increasing every year from now on.
Though food safety audits are commonplace for large farming operations, they pose a new challenge for smaller operations if they choose to pursue certification. Thorough documentation and potentially expensive implementation of a qualified safety plan are just a few of the obstacles. That's why WSDA is partnering with Washington State University and Tilth Producers of Washington to bring together auditors, small to mid-sized growers, and agriculture educators for on-farm events to discuss food safety guidelines and identify realistic farming practices to meet GAP audit standards.
We're basically taking a WSDA team approach to looking at these issues for small and diversified farms. Whether or not you decide to get the certification right away, implementing a lot of these and some of the documentation will help in a lot of markets.
I really admire Mike's bravery in inviting this very diverse group of people here to walk his farm and see the reality of a small, diversified, owner-operated farm.
Mike Finger of Cedarville Farm, in our 23rd year of operating as a certified organic farm. Today is the Tilth-sponsored walk to discuss issues around farm food safety, good agricultural practices. I just think it's always valuable to have discussions. It's always valuable to have a real example to look at. And as long as I was assured that no one was going to shut my farm down as a result of this experience, I welcome having people here. It's an important discussion.
And GMO farms subjected to the GAP audits as well, and do they have different standards?
We don't differentiate from organic or GMO or conventional, it's all the same.
Good Agricultural Practices specifically addresses food safety for fruits and vegetables as it relates to microbial contamination for any farm size and any type.
Even if you aren't going to certify as a GAPS farmer, I think it can help you take a fresh look at your farm and say, ooh, let's, beef up that hand washing station a little bit, or maybe I need to move my compost so all of the leachate is moving away from the crop, or something that you have just done for 20, 30, 40 years and you drive by it every day, you don't see it anymore. Just to take a fresh look and have more eyes on the farm.
Okay, starting on what looks like this page. This is the beginning of what the audit looks like.
I only can see more emphasis on food safety on the farm in the future than we've seen in the past.
To continue addressing concerns and barriers about gaps, WSDA is launching a new initiative, Bridging the Gaps, a project providing GAP's auditors training about small, mid-size, and diversified farming operations, and providing education and outreach to growers about examples of good agricultural practices for these types of farms.
As an auditor, when I show up to a farm, we start with the documentation and the record keeping of the audit first. We'll go through the matrix, through each scope that we're covering that day, and go through each question that requires documentation or policy or record keeping.
Don't be overwhelmed by all the sections here. I've been working on becoming GAP certified on my farm. This is just a copy of my compost record. This is just how simple it is. This just is temperatures for my compost pile, where it is, and how it's done, and then that would get slipped into your notebook.
Each audit section requires 80% of the total points available for that section to achieve a passing audit score. The section's primarily over hygiene, water, soils, surfaces, and packaging points. The audit includes a review of the food safety plan developed by each farm, specific to its own operation. and a walkthrough of the farm to examine the procedures, record keeping, and implementation of that plan.
Some of this overlaps if you're an organic grower, but it does require a amount of paper handling that you have to do. For a most successful program, it has to become second nature on your farm. You can't just say, I'm doing this because I have to. You need to be able to do it, internalize it into your program. You're doing it because it's important to you and to your business producing safe food on the farm.
We've been really wanting to engage in the conversation around food safety and talk with farms about it and their food safety planning, and talk with schools so that they're more comfortable in working directly with farmers.
The food service directors that we're working with are very concerned with food safety. It's their primary concern, that they are bringing in food to serve these children and that they know it's safe.
If the market that you're selling product into requires that certification, then it's a necessity for you.
Food safety is a real fear, so it's my concern because consumers are concerned. Just learning about what GAP certification is to make sure our produce is safe.
What I see is that there is a strong commitment from all of the different players towards the value of safety. The farmers want their food to be safe. The food service directors want to be serving safe food to their kids, and it creates a great foundation for this conversation.
I thought the walk went very well. It was very well represented. I think there was some good questions asked. I think it was well worth everybody's while that participated. So,
I'm a pragmatist, so this is coming down the line. You can pout and stomp your feet, but it's not going away.
As an auditor, I would have been concerned with the garlic there.
Is there an absolute distance, or is this when we're talking about natural breaks again?
Even though I see that the inspectors are trying really hard to sort of meet us part way, we're coming from such different perspectives that I think that there's going to be certainly details to work out, but also resistance.
For me to come out, and then I had a couple of the auditors come out and physically look at the scenarios and hear the concern. I mean, it's a learning curve, I think, across the board, but we'll get there.
I think as much as we need to respond to the concerns of food safety, we also need to be vigilant that those concerns don't lead to a regulatory environment that make it very difficult for small growers to continue to farm. And I would only say that if I felt in my heart, as I do, that most small-scale agriculture is safe, very safe agriculture.
Through open communication and collaboration, the agriculture community can come up with creative solutions to achieve GAP together, opening up new markets and increasing consumer confidence for Washington products.